All right, welcoming you back to the Lifetime Burn Meditation. My name is Doster, welcoming you to the dystopia. A few things that are floating around today: emotional awareness, the matrix by which you measure the presence of particular emotions. So this is like where you have a chart which you scale each emotion on. So you would have... Before we go any further, please do leave a comment and interact, engage with this channel, subscribe to the channel, and help me grow this channel. I really need your help with that. Which you scale each emotion on. So you would have anger and frustration and boredom and all the rest of it on the dark side, and then you would have the light side of playfulness, happiness, joy, ecstasy, and so on down the list. And you'd go through this matrix and you would say how frequently you experience these things over the course of a week and a month and a year, and also to what intensity. So there's a sort of matrix by which you work it all out, and then you do a profile, right? You do an emotional profile on yourself. So this is something that I'm working on and I'm actually putting together, so you'll be able to do it as part of one of my courses, but that's just an idea. And another idea that is coming around is, I also wanted to mention about my day a little bit. So today, because it was Friday, I was volunteering at the cafe where I do volunteer work with people with disabilities, and that was very good. That's something I do every week. It was quite challenging because I was having an off day. So I've had some trouble recently because of my diet and sleeping pattern and too much coffee, and that's something that I want to get back on track. So it's been a very challenging day. My mind has not been clear. My energy has not been very good. So it's been a good day. It's been a long day, but it has been with some challenges. And to sort of expand on that, tomorrow's Saturday, I want to get into the weekend and get back on track again with making videos in the morning rather than in the afternoon, which is what I'm doing now. And also cleaning up the house, getting my diet on track, doing my workout routine, setting up my weekly routine, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that will be a new step in a new direction, a renewed resolve, a renewed alignment, as we might say. And then I also wanted to mention a little bit about the world events, because I realized that, there might be a time looking back on this in the future, and this is a kind of documentary, a kind of documenting of my process. And the question is what is going on in the world? What kind of times are we living in? And the real big news of the day is that we are living through Trumpism. So Trump is serving his second term, and he is causing all sorts of horrifying chaos in the Americas and also around the world. So he's responsible to corruption of the tune of billions of dollars. He's got his crypto coin scam and multiple resort scams and insider training to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and pay-to-play pardons for millions of dollars. There's really no underestimating how much corruption and horrifying things there are that he's organizing for himself and doing for himself on a daily basis. And that is not to mention the deaths of people who are taken by the ICE immigration force, and also the war that he started, which the real highlight of that has been the bombing of a school of children, which resulted in the deaths of over 150 peoples, most of which who were children. Not to mention the death toll of the war itself, and also not to mention the death toll of American citizens. And really, that's just the start of it, right? Coming up in a few days, he's got the UFC fight on the lawn of the White House, which is just like the most horrifying idiocracy kind of thing that I think I could have ever imagined, right? It's just horrifying what he's doing. And, I usually leave it to people who are more qualified in saying how corrupt he is and expressing the horror of who he is. But this is the times that we are living in. And, the other part of it is the cost of living, the cost of petrol, which we feel around the world, the cost of food, the cost of groceries, the cost of living. And in Australia, we have a rise of the right-wingers at the moment. We have neo-Nazis who end up going into court and ending up on the evening news. Even in Australia, I walk past the courthouse every day on my way to school. So, yeah, the world events are absolutely messed up, and that's just really the tip of the iceberg. Economic instability, unsure about the future, and the robots coming to take our jobs. And, I don't have a job anyway, so it's like there's no future, and that's very much a doom and gloom way to live, a kind of place to be in for the world. And for me, the other thing that is going on is I'm doing school, still learning piano, and that's doing really well. I'm actually going to be playing with one of my teachers on Thursday. Or is it Wednesday? Anyway, he's a jazz guitarist, really good guitarist. And I have been neglecting the practice a little bit. I do sort of want to get into that. And I also did a lounge room performance the other day, yesterday I think it was, with maybe the day before yesterday, with a singer. And we did some pop songs, some Ariana Grande, we did James Bond, we did Die on This Hill, and a few songs like that. So that was just piano and vocals, which was very nice. So, yeah, and I'm thinking about my online courses, thinking about the self-authoring course. I'm also thinking about question tennis. I was looking at a new venue today for question tennis. There's one near where I work at the cafe, which actually has mirrors, which is great because when you use mirrors for question tennis and you involve the reflection, which, there's lots of ways in which you can do that, it becomes very interesting. So, for example, there's one of the tricks where you sit in a chair facing across from someone and there's a mirror behind them, and you actually look at yourself in the mirror with eye contact and you ask the questions, and yet the person that is sitting in front of you answers the questions. So this is a variation on the three-pointed question tennis, which is where you have one person asking one person the questions and the other person is answering the questions. So it's like this sort of triangle of, where the question is going from and where it's coming from and how it's affecting you. And it's very interesting because we so often only get the chance to have a question one-to-one. Yeah, there's a question coming from one point, landing on another point. And that's always very pinpointedness. It's a very sort of centralized, plain sort of direction. With the triple point, with the three-way question tennis, you actually get to see the multidimensionality of it, and you get to see how different it is to answer a question that is coming from somewhere else or going to somewhere else. So I'm very excited to be starting up question tennis again and really getting on track with the in-person workshops, although it's going to take some time to organize that. So, yeah, and then the other big thing is the burn meditation. I wanted to share a little bit about how there's anything you can burn at any time. And I wanted to make the comparison between the burn meditation and work as meditation, because that's what we're doing with the lifetime burn. We're burning anytime with anything, anywhere. It really happens anytime you remember it, just in the same way as you do work as meditation, which means when you're working, you're meditating. When you remember to meditate, you meditate. When you remember awareness, the awareness is there. So let us just sort of keep this as a quick update, and I'll be expanding more on these things that I've discussed here as we go along. Running out of time now, but I want to keep this short as usual. This has been the Lifetime Burn Meditation. We'll be back very soon for more. Oh, please, before we go any further, please do leave a comment and interact, engage with this channel, subscribe to the channel, and help me grow this channel. I really need your help with that. We'll be back very soon with more.